Aha moment conclusion. The whole discovery has so much creepiness and so much is flat out is flat out wrong. The main final part has to do with consciousness and how psychology, you know, everyone do what they want. I'm not trying to argue. I'm not trying to bicker anymore. I'm just trying to die without any pain. I don't want to die miserably. I don't want to suffer. I just want to face death naturally. There's no other freedom besides facing death naturally. Consciousness. Everybody thought, great, we're getting consciousness, marijuana, and some mushrooms. We're getting progress made, and there's going to be legal drugs eventually. And the information missing has to do with stimulus. This behavioral system of medicine called psychology, the science of psychology, has to do with doing, thinking, and thought, and behavior. Behavior has to do with stimulus and reward. Monkeys do behavior. Rats especially do behavior. Which side of the maze will it go on first to get the little piece of food? How stoned will the buyer of the weed get with the limited availability of higher number THC? They shrink the limits and they provide the stimulus. They make it legal, limit it, create a stimulus, and then they can watch and observe the behavior. And the person will be high and stoned, and then they can have their thinking and their thought changed, and they can do better stuff. They can be better at behaving. There's probably good reason nobody drinks in mental health services. Every once in a while there will be, but for the most part, not many people drink. Partially for the high amounts of medications to get these scientific benefits in place, behavior and doing and thinking and thought and emotions. And how much more of consciousness gets taken away from alcohol compared to marijuana in the short duration and then the return to calm afterwards, or a little jitteriness or a little after effects, but much less than whiskey or vodka or some gin beer combination. Consciousness hasn't been emphasized to get people more aware of what's going on. The consciousness has been given as a stimulus, and the reward of legal weed, the reward of Facebook friends and likes, and the social consciousness are to help people be aware of their behavior, are to get people to do destruction of the racist, are to get people to do the end and to get rid of harassment, to get people to do rent strikes, to get people to occupy everywhere. Wall Street, South Seattle Community College. Limits. There's freedom. Look, everybody's doing freedom stuff. But no one ever succeeds. No one ever says to the bullies, they're free and they're proud. And their bodies and their brains, and maybe their minds too, if chosen as an option, are sacred. Not some animal to be walked around and fed some drugs and given some booze and then told how to speak and talk and walk and meet a girl practically. Meet a significant other. A person dresses in a suit and eventually they start to recognize all people are doing is watching each other. And then the man with the teardrop shows up and you're like, oh, sociopath. But a diagnosis like sociopath in this kind of system of medicine, psychology, a science of the mind, although now they said, no, it's not mind anymore, science of behavior. Makes them relevant for the 1 in 1,000 homeless men that I sat next to, I ate next to, I slept next to in shelters, who a lot of times were out there because they didn't like people telling them what to do. They liked just living on their own, going where they want, doing what they want, getting some food, almost like a Buddha. Except there's no other option. For a person who wants those kinds of conditions in life and not to be completely in a simulation video game theoretical world, they've got to live with pain, they've got to live with hunger and suffering and poverty and lose a lot of sleep. For yet another reward. What they want with their life, with how they want to live in the world, unrestrained, uncontrolled, and wild and crazy, free and obnoxious. I stopped praying as much as I got further along in my research with neuroscience, and thought there was some tiny hope and dream and opportunity to eventually go to medical school and help people know what's going on more. To help people get healthy, to help people get strong, to help people have voices, and to help people be happy. Now I'm stuck trying to figure out as a cancer survivor what the benefits are in this decision making. What good does it do? How much strength and how much courage do I have to sit in front of the bigger, more well-fed and the dominant person in front of me who's in charge of my professional training? And how I could lose the even smaller, tinier, and more minuscule hope I have left to die peacefully. And to not have someone stand over me and beat me to death because I'm pleading for my life and can't obey the silence and can't follow the behavior rules and the restrictions of language and words and letters. And then I see the light. And then I see the dark. And then I see a little bit of wind. And for a moment, I hear ringing in my ears and don't have to hear the world. And thinking and thoughts stop. And finally, there's what Krishnamurti called freedom. The end.